That's not as bad this time, I don't think.
No.
Folks, what you don't hear is that we sometimes count down and we're not quite in sync. And we talked about this topic about no perfect timing before we started hitting record. And so, Josh, do you want to say anything before we jump to the thing?
Nope.
Okay, you heard it from Josh. We're going to launch out today to talk about no perfect time today on Curiosity Continuum.
Hey everybody, this is Josh.
And this is Brian.
Welcome to the podcast for Curiosity Continuum.
Curiosity Continuum is an industry-innovating, non-traditional company passionate about growing wisdom in the next generation.
We are the essential bridge between the analog and digital worlds by building collaborative communities that unleash the power of adaptive expertise and innovation needed to thrive in the 21st century.
We combine and mix essential elements needed to empower people to succeed in new ways not possible outside of a creative, thoughtful, diverse community of fellow curious people.
Follow us on your favorite podcast app to receive notifications of new content. If you like what you hear and want to dive deeper, please visit us at curiositycontinuum.com. Thanks for tuning in, and let's start the conversation.
So there's a phrase sometimes people hear is like, it's the perfect time. The right time, the right, you think about the marketing thing, right price, right product, right people, right promotion, all that kind of stuff. There are things that do align at times where you kind of see this is going to make more sense than others, but there is no perfect everything ever in time and whatever.
No, and I think as humans, like especially risk-averse humans, like as we get to become adults and we've built ourselves up, from nothing pretty much into like something we can do. Like I think that we feel we need that perfect time to do something. And I just want we just want to reiterate that there is no perfect time. Like no perfect time to start something new, no perfect time to quit your job. And there are sometimes a perfect time to do that, but a lot of times it's just kind of thrust upon you, right, Brian?
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention often.
Right.
But and sometimes that's where people say it's a perfect time to do it, where when it's not like you see this golden moment and you grab it. We'll talk about that probably a little bit later. But sometimes people do it because that's the thing that's afforded to them at the moment. There are people who lost their businesses over the last few years, and there are some that have started new businesses, and you would never have guessed, wow, this is the thing that's going well for them. A great example is my professional life. I've had some clients, and they kind of fractured and went in different directions, but they're all doing merch, like custom merch. So what's happened over like the lockdowns and stuff is that people bought a lot of T-shirts. Now, if you would have told me that was the case, I would have said, nah, that ain't going to happen. I mean, gangbusters. I'm telling you what, even with supply chain issues and cost of goods going up, gangbusters. It's just insane that people want T-shirts. I'm glad for them. But was there like a perfect time for that? For a couple of these guys, this was like mother of invention. Like you had to do it. Another person said, I think it's going to be a great time to do it. And they started to make those bets really like kind of trying to come out of pandemic. Was that the perfect time? I don't think so, but it was the time afforded to them and they're working the process.
What this tells me is that these are, business people, entrepreneurs that are working for a company or have their own company, and they're seeing a trend or a need. And maybe they didn't even see the need, but maybe somebody reached out to them and said, hey, can you do this for me? And then they realized, wow, 80 other people want that. And so they just kind of jump on it. That's kind of what this is about, right? This is about figuring out that niche thing that is different and just pressing on it, right?
And understanding with your eyes wide open. So sometimes I tell people it's a leap of faith. It is. I'm sorry. But you should also have your eyes wide open to go, if you take this leap, right? It's not don't do it in blind faith. Some people do. It's kind of like fire, ready, aim.
Oh, yeah. I just quit my job and now I'm doing it.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Yeah, don't do that if you can help it.
There's a great story in Sarah Blakely where she really got Spanx to a place and that she had, I think it was 4 times her income from her like selling Xerox copy machines or something before she said goodbye. And she did that full time. She guerrillaed that whole thing together, and there's plenty of articles and podcasts and articles and stuff like that to talk about her story. But she saw a need and she did it, and it was not perfect. She was like kind of merchandising her own stuff unofficially, quote unquote, in department stores.
Right.
It wasn't because she had permission. It wasn't because she had, the backing of big brands or whatever. She had an opportunity and she took it and she worked through it. And she had to give up certain things in her life, just like if you're an athlete or, you're going to make a life change, you're going to get married or something like that. You have to make those decisions. And when is the alignment of that ever going to work perfectly? And I say this like on the marriage front. I think of examples in my life, and you probably have similar folks as well, where they said, we're not going to get married yet, although we've been together for 12 years, when the timing's right, when it all works out, and it just keeps pushing longer and longer. Now, look, if they have a good, honest moment, they said, marriage isn't that important to us. We just like to be together. And that's an honest moment. You can say that. But if you're waiting for the right, exact, perfect moment to be married, when is that, Josh? I mean, did you have the perfect time when you got married?
No, it was never the perfect time. So Mel and I, we started dating for a while. We knew each other before, so it was kind of different. But we just decided, yeah, we're gonna get married. So that was in January. But here's the whole thing: before that, so December 11th or September 11th happened, and Mel and I even thought then, let's just get married. So we decided on that day we were gonna get married. And then 3 months later, I actually proposed to her. But it was kind of oh yeah, we're getting married. So there was no perfect time. It was just kind of oh yeah, let's do it.
So tell me what wasn't perfect about that timing.
There was nothing perfect. We both lived at home with our parents. We just knew that we wanted to build a life together. And to do that, it was easier, honestly, just to get married and just start doing it. Just start building the life. We just wanted to just jump in and do it. So we just did.
So I think where this is coming to is you have to be ready when it's your time. Josh, if you didn't have a job, when you were young and wanted to get married, that's kind of a problem. You
right.
need to have income to contribute to the household.
And to be honest, I had a very low paying job.
I remember that job. So,
yeah, I didn't have the job I have now. So it's and my wife didn't have the job that she has now, which is zero job. But she is, it's kind of funny because it's a roundabout way how that happened. But she was working. Yeah. So it's we were both working. We just weren't working at the jobs we wanted to work at. But we just thought, you know what? It's just better to build that together.
But see, there was a driving force that said hey, at 9/11 you decided we're gonna get married.
Yeah.
Now it wasn't necessarily a time frame, but then you proposed and that made it more real. And then you said well, let's plan. Right. And you made it work. And folks, what happens is that you find excuses to say, well, it's not the time because of X. But people who do something different, whether it's relationally, it's professionally, whatever it may be, they say, but this is why I'm going to do it. And this is why it's driving me forward. Now that reframes, honestly, when we talk about contextual awareness, there's plenty of reasons why, Josh, you probably could have said it's not the right time to get married and this is why.
Oh, for sure.
But other people say this is the right time to get married and this is why. And you don't know those things necessarily what's going to happen. You just know here's the decision we're going to make, and then you know how to calibrate the other decisions and frame it.
Yeah, that's where it all happens. So that's where the magic happens in the margins. I like to say the edges of reality is kind of where things are stitched together. So people decide things kind of willy-nilly, really, but you'd have this gut instinct, oh, I'm just going to do it. And you should follow that on a lot of things. There are some things you should maybe, tap back on it, but it takes a lot of experience, and you're going to make mistakes. If you think like, oh, I'm going to jump in on this and just, do this thing. I'm going to go quit my job and go with this guy in his startup. It might not be the right thing, but if you feel it and it has like a good kind of, honestly want to say if it has like a good feeling to it, a lot of times it's a right decision for you at the time. However, you have to like weigh that with your everyday life and your everyday expectations, right? So if you're going to quit your job up and willy-nilly, I would never say anyone to do that. I would say, okay, make sure that there's a plan forward. And same with getting married. I would never say just go get married. But like my wife and I, before we got married, we were talking about it. We already had this 9/11 was like that catalyzing event that we needed just to kind of push us to the edge. And so look at that in whatever you're thinking. And if it's something that's pushing you to the edge, think why, and then think, oh, is this a good time just to jump for it? Can I catch the ledge on the other side?
And you may not know that answer.
Right.
So a story with my wife and I is years ago, we moved out of our townhome, which I bought just very shortly before her and I got married as a single guy. And then we ended up building a house. And so we had we kind of transitioned from there to the new place. And we had a chance to rent out our place. And what happened is that the interest rates kind of fell just right, and we were able to refinance to get it to a place where we could actually, it would make sense to rent it out. Sometimes you're not in that situation. And I was scared. In real estate, something like, oh, I wanted to do this, and here it is. I'm like, crap, there's going to be people living in this house that, what happens if the toilet breaks? What if,
Right.
like the locks get broken, or all these other kinds of things that would happen. And then we did it, and I'm like, oh, that's what that was? It really, once you get past that hump, you realize that the ideas that you had, it could either be like a limiting belief, or it could be something that is real. Maybe something didn't work out quite right, but then you got it right. And if you didn't get it right, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? You kind of start over again. I think people are afraid to kind of air their failures publicly. When I say public, it doesn't mean like broadcast on television always, but in your group of peers, in your group of friends, in your family, are you okay with falling down on your face a few times if that's what's required? Because successful people don't hit it all the time, but they're just willing to try and try again.
I mean, that's the whole thing about this, right? It's about willing to try. So it's like there's no perfect time, but there's no perfect time to try. You just have to do it. And honestly, it's the failures that make us human. So if you try and you're successful, that's great. But if you try and you fail, get up and do it again. And this is what this episode is about. It's like there's no perfect time. You got to tamp down that little mind, that part of your brain that says, don't do this because I'm going to get hurt. This is not like you're going off and, doing something like I'm going to jump the Grand Canyon, But it's the same type of thing in your mind. And so you have to understand that, like, okay, if I understand that, you have to look, it's a risk reward situation. You have to understand what the risk is, and the reward is greater than the risk. Do it. Try it. If you want to do that podcast, do it. Don't quit your job to do it, but go ahead and do it.
Just remember that your unfamiliar, brand new frontier is somebody's every day. Right? There's other people that do the things that maybe you've never tried before. And that's what's wonderful about having a community of people. Like, you haven't tried something, asking somebody to a meal or a cup of coffee to ask them questions about something, like that's a very cheap way to get good information. I mean, cheap not in devaluing the other person, but you want to talk about, well, I could take out this $100,000 loan to try something, or I could take somebody to a dinner and ask
for
them questions.
$75. Yeah.
And like, you kind of like gauge, do I really want to do this? And if you make a good sober decision, there's going to be people that have done that same kind of thing that you can learn from, which is the value of the community of imperfect people helping imperfect people at the imperfect time
Right.
to be better.
Right. So I think that's a good spot to leave it, huh, Brian? Basically,
it.
just try something.
Go do it.
Go do it.
Now's the time. So until the next time, this is Brian
And this is Josh.
for Curiosity Continuum.